What if one tiny pill could send you hundreds of years into the past, but if you failed to return within 7 minutes, you'd be trapped there forever? At first, it sounds like the ultimate adventure. But when a teenage girl suddenly disappears without a trace, one dying paramedic uncovers the terrifying truth. She isn't missing, she's lost somewhere in history. Now, with only a handful of pills left and time running out, he must risk everything to rescue her, even if it means sacrificing his own future. It all begins during a violent thunderstorm. Hidden inside a quiet hotel room, a young couple decides to experiment with a mysterious street drug called Synchronic. They expect nothing more than an intense high. Instead, they trigger something impossible. Within moments, their surroundings begin to dissolve. The woman watches the hotel walls melt away as lush jungle vegetation grows around her. Strange tribal figures emerge from the trees, and a venomous snake slithers toward her feet. Across the hotel, her boyfriend experiences something even more terrifying. As the elevator transforms into an endless desert landscape, the floor vanishes beneath him, sending him plunging into empty space. Before anyone can explain what happened, disaster strikes. Across town, veteran paramedics Steve Danube and Dennis Danley spend another exhausting night responding to emergency calls. Years of working together have made them inseparable, and despite their different personalities, they trust each other completely. Their latest call appears to be another routine overdose. Inside an ordinary house, they find chaos. One victim lies unconscious from a drug overdose while another is bleeding from a bizarre wound that makes little sense. Witnesses describe hearing strange voices speaking French moments before the violence began. Steve treats the unconscious woman, accidentally pricking himself with a contaminated needle before reviving her. Dennis stabilizes the injured man while police begin searching the house. Everything initially points toward another drug-related incident. Officers discover an empty Synchronic packet and assume the victims attacked one another while hallucinating. But then something impossible turns up. A centuries-old copper coin lies on the floor where it clearly shouldn't exist. Even stranger, investigators discover an antique sword embedded deep inside one of the walls. Nobody can explain how either object ended up there. Steve quietly pockets the unusual coin, unaware that it will soon become one of the biggest clues in his life. As dawn approaches, the partners finally catch a short break. Steve spends a few minutes hitting golf balls trying to clear his mind before noticing the strange date stamped onto the old coin. It's from 1721. The discovery stays with him. Concerned about the accidental needle stick, Steve schedules medical tests. What begins as a routine precaution quickly turns into something much more serious when doctors recommend a complete neurological examination. The following day offers a rare chance to relax. Steve joins Dennis and his family for a birthday celebration, honoring Dennis's younger daughter. While everyone enjoys the picnic, Steve notices Dennis's older daughter, Brianna, sitting alone, clearly distracted by something weighing on her mind. Known as the fun uncle, Steve sits beside her, hoping she'll open up. She starts trying to explain what's been bothering her, but before she can finish, Steve receives an emergency call that cuts the conversation short. Neither of them realizes it will be their last normal conversation together. That evening, another disturbing emergency sends Steve and Dennis rushing across town. This victim hasn't overdosed. Instead, someone has burned to death under circumstances that defy explanation. Investigators can't find evidence of a normal fire. There are no burn patterns, no obvious fuel source, and almost nothing in the room has been damaged. The only unusual discoveries are another empty Synchronic wrapper and a melted antique doorknob that looks completely out of place. The pattern is becoming impossible to ignore. Every bizarre case somehow leads back to the same mysterious drug. Before Steve has time to process everything, his hospital scans reveal devastating news. Doctors discover a tumor deep inside his brain. The diagnosis hits him like a freight train. Instead of worrying about strange coins or impossible crime scenes, Steve is suddenly forced to confront his own mortality. But work doesn't stop. Soon afterward, Steve and Dennis respond to another emergency, the same hotel where the young couple experimented with Synchronic. The woman survives, although she's suffering from a venomous snake bite, despite there being no snakes anywhere nearby. She remains trapped in severe psychological shock, barely able to speak. Her boyfriend isn't so fortunate. While Dennis investigates the elevator shaft after hearing reports of a loud crash, he discovers the man's body far below. His death makes no sense. Even stranger, the expression frozen on his face looks almost peaceful. Animal control confirms another disturbing detail. The snake responsible for the woman's injuries belongs to a species that disappeared from the region decades ago. Again, reality refuses to follow logic. On the way back, Steve quietly notices yet another clue connecting every incident, a shopping bag from the same store that sold Synchronic. Meanwhile, doctors finally explain Steve's diagnosis in full. His tumor is malignant and has formed around his pineal gland, an area of the brain still poorly understood. The prognosis is impossible to predict. He could have only weeks remaining, or if treatment works unusually well, perhaps years. Nobody can promise anything. Steve chooses not to tell Dennis. His best friend already carries enough responsibilities with his family, and Steve doesn't want to become another burden. Ironically, Dennis has problems of his own. Trying to reconnect with Brianna, he spends time playing basketball with her and worries he's failed as a father. Brianna reassures him that nothing terrible is happening. She's simply uncertain about her future like many teenagers. Dennis feels relieved. Unfortunately, that relief won't last. Later, the two paramedics meet at a neighborhood bar to celebrate Steve's birthday. Dennis gives him a thoughtful gift before admitting something he's never confessed aloud. Sometimes he envies Steve's freedom. Marriage, children, and endless responsibilities have left him wondering whether he chose the life he truly wanted. Steve listens quietly. If only Dennis knew the truth. Eventually, Dennis notices the growing collection of medication Steve keeps taking and becomes suspicious. He fears his friend has developed a dangerous addiction. Steve avoids answering honestly. The secret stays hidden. The next day changes everything. Another emergency call leads them to a house filled with terrified teenagers. One young person is already dead. Another can barely speak. Through fragmented sentences, she mentions someone else who had been there. Brianna, Dennis freezes. His heart immediately sinks as he calls home. His wife answers with the worst possible news. Brianna never came back. Now this isn't just another mysterious Synchronic case. It's personal, determined to uncover the truth before it's too late. Steve drives straight to the small convenience store linked to every previous incident. Without hesitation, he purchases every remaining packet of Synchronic before anyone else can. A nervous stranger follows him outside, desperately offering to buy the drugs back for several times their original price. Steve refuses and drives away, convinced that whatever secret Synchronic hides, he's about to discover it himself. Back at Dennis's home, panic consumes the entire family as police organize search efforts and missing person flyers begin covering the neighborhood. Every passing hour makes Brianna's chances look worse. That same night, Steve receives an unexpected visitor. The mysterious man from outside the store somehow finds his home. Instead of attacking, he reveals an unbelievable confession. His name is Dr. Kermani. He's the chemist responsible for creating Synchronic. Originally, the drug was meant to imitate illegal narcotics using modified legal compounds. But one experimental batch produced a completely unforeseen side effect. Synchronic doesn't simply alter perception, it distorts space and time itself. According to Kermani, the drug temporarily tears open pathways into different points in history. Adults usually experience only partial interactions because their fully developed pineal glands limit the effect. Young people are different. Their brains allow them to travel completely into another time period. And if they fail to return correctly, they may never come back. Steve struggles to believe a single word. The explanation sounds completely insane. Kermani insists he's been tracking every remaining dose across the country, trying to destroy them before more lives are ruined. Satisfied that Steve supposedly disposed of his supply, he finally leaves. But once the door closes, the truth is revealed. Steve never destroyed the Synchronic. He secretly kept every remaining dose, because now he intends to find out whether the impossible is real. Steve can't stop thinking about Dr. Kermani's impossible explanation. Time travel sounds like pure science fiction, yet every bizarre emergency he's responded to points back to Synchronic. The ancient coin in his pocket, the antique sword, the mysterious snake, and Brianna's disappearance suddenly seem connected by one terrifying possibility. With nothing left to lose and his own future growing shorter by the day, he decides to risk everything. He documents his experiment carefully before swallowing one of the remaining pills. For a few quiet moments, nothing happens. Then the room begins to change. Light bends unnaturally, familiar walls dissolve, and his comfortable living room gives way to a landscape that hasn't existed for centuries. Every sound, every smell, and every gust of wind feels completely real. This isn't a dream or a hallucination. He's standing in another era. Before he can fully absorb what's happening, danger finds him. A massive predator lurks nearby while an armed explorer mistakes him for an intruder. Steve has nowhere to run, and just as violence seems unavoidable, reality snaps back into place. In an instant, he's standing inside his home again, shaken but alive. A deep mark left behind proves he didn't imagine any of it. Instead of running away from the mystery, Steve becomes obsessed with understanding its rules. He records every trip like a scientist conducting dangerous experiments. Each dose transports him to a different period tied to the exact place where he's standing. Some journeys are breathtaking, revealing landscapes untouched by modern civilization. Others become desperate fights for survival against brutal environments that care nothing about human life. One frozen expedition nearly kills him before he can return. Realizing preparation matters, he begins planning each attempt more carefully. Warm clothing, supplies, and careful observation allow him to survive long enough to witness ancient humanity face to face. Rather than treating these encounters as action sequences, Steve starts appreciating how enormous history truly is. He's no longer reading about the past, he's walking through it. At the same time, his health continues to deteriorate. Chemotherapy drains his strength, leaving him exhausted even during ordinary ambulance shifts. The physical pain becomes harder to hide, and Dennis grows increasingly suspicious. Without knowing the truth about Steve's diagnosis, he assumes his best friend has become dependent on powerful medication. Tension slowly builds between them. During another emergency call, frustration finally explodes. Small disagreements turn into personal accusations, and years of friendship collapse into an angry confrontation. Neither man truly understands what the other is carrying. Steve hides his terminal illness. Dennis struggles with guilt, fear, and the growing collapse of his family after Brianna's disappearance. Their partnership seems beyond repair. Meanwhile, Steve continues pushing Synchronic further than anyone ever intended. Every discovery reveals another frightening rule. Objects can sometimes move between timelines. Tiny historical artifacts explain the impossible evidence found at previous crime scenes. But transporting living things proves far more dangerous. One heartbreaking experiment teaches him that history refuses to forgive mistakes. A simple attempt to test the limits of the drug ends with devastating consequences, forcing Steve to realize that every journey carries irreversible risks. The past isn't a museum, it's a living world where one wrong decision can cost everything. Despite the danger, Steve refuses to stop. He retraces Brianna's final known movements, searching for any clue that might reveal where, and more importantly, when, she disappeared. His investigation becomes less about proving time travel and more about rescuing someone who may still be alive somewhere beyond the present. Each failed attempt teaches him something new. Every location seems connected to its own slice of history. Every successful return depends on understanding rules that nobody else even knows exist. Steve slowly pieces together a method that gives him a genuine chance of finding Brianna before it's too late. As his search continues, tragedy strikes once again. News spreads that Dr. Kermany is gone, taking with him perhaps the only person capable of fully explaining Synchronic. Whatever answers remained now disappear forever, leaving Steve completely alone with an invention nobody understands. Eventually, the emotional weight becomes impossible to carry by himself. Steve finally sits down with Dennis and reveals the secret he's been hiding all along. The medication, the exhaustion, the strange behavior. It was never addiction, it's brain cancer. Dennis is devastated. For the first time, both men stop pretending everything is under control. Years of friendship cut through the anger as they admit how much they've misunderstood each other. Dennis confesses that fear has consumed him since Brianna vanished, while Steve admits he'd gladly trade every ounce of his freedom for the family life Dennis often took for granted. The reconciliation changes everything. Now working together instead of against each other, Steve shares the evidence he's collected. Videos, historical objects, and careful observations paint an unbelievable picture. Dennis wants to reject it, but the evidence leaves little room for doubt. Somehow, Brianna really may be trapped somewhere in history. Looking back through old memories, they uncover one final clue Brianna unknowingly left behind before vanishing. It points Steve toward the exact place where she likely crossed into another time. There's only one problem: very little Synchronic remains. The final journey becomes more than a rescue mission. It's a race against time, fate, and Steve's failing body. Entering one of history's darkest chapters, he finds himself surrounded by chaos where survival depends on every second counting. After an exhausting search, hope finally appears. Steve finds Brianna alive. She's frightened, confused, and running out of hope, but she's alive. He quickly explains that returning home requires absolute precision. Every second matters. Every step could mean the difference between seeing her family again or remaining lost forever. The journey back becomes a desperate struggle through violence and uncertainty. Steve shields Brianna whenever possible, refusing to let her face the danger alone despite his worsening condition. His own survival becomes secondary. All that matters is giving her another chance at life. When the final moments arrive, Steve makes the only choice he can live with. He sacrifices his own future so Brianna can reclaim hers. Back in the present, Dennis experiences the miracle he'd almost stopped believing was possible. Brianna returns home, forever changed by an experience few people could ever comprehend. Father and daughter embrace, while the weight that had been crushing their family finally begins to lift. Steve, however, belongs somewhere else now. His final act isn't driven by heroism alone. It's the culmination of everything the story has been building toward: accepting mortality, valuing friendship, and choosing another person's future over his own.